The judge lifted the custody papers and looked straight at me over the rim of his reading glasses. Not with sympathy, with exhaustion. Like he'd already made up his mind a week ago and was just waiting for the clock to hit noon so he could go eat lunch. "Mr. Carter," he said, "this court has decided that custody of your daughter, Emily, will remain with her mother. Permanently." My entire world didn't just collapse. It didn't just crumble. It felt like someone reached into my chest, grabbed my ribcage, and ripped it open in slow motion. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears like a kick drum. My ex-wife, Vanessa, sitting 2 feet away from me with her perfect hair and her perfect fake tears, looked at me. And she smiled. Not a happy smile, a victorious smile. The kind of smile a cat gives a mouse right before it gets bored of playing. My lawyer put his hand on my arm. "I'm sorry, David," he whispered. "There's nothing else we can do." That's when I heard it. A small voice, trembling, but loud enough to cut through the silence of that courtroom like a knife. "Your Honor?" Everyone turned. The judge looked up, confused. My wife's smile froze. My 9-year-old daughter, Emily, slowly raised her hand from her seat next to the court-appointed advocate. She was wearing her favorite blue sweater, the one with the little cat on the pocket. She looked so small in that big wooden chair. "Your Honor," she said again, her voice shaking, "I recorded something, and Daddy doesn't know about it." And for the first time that entire year, my wife looked absolutely terrified.
Let me rewind, because you need to understand how I got here. You need to understand what it feels like to wake up one morning and realize that the woman you die for has been planning your funeral for years. My name is David. I'm 37. I'm a project manager for a construction company. Nothing fancy, but it pays the bills. I'm not a perfect man. I forget to take out the trash. I leave my coffee mugs on the nightstand. I missed a school play or two because of work deadlines. But I love my daughter more than I have ever loved anything on this earth. Emily was born on a rainy Tuesday in March. She came out screaming with a full head of dark hair, and the first thing she did was grab my finger with her tiny little fist and refuse to let go. I remember looking at Vanessa in that hospital bed and thinking, this is it. This is the moment my real life starts. For the first 7 years, we were that family. You know the one. The family that posts embarrassing Halloween photos on Facebook. The family that argues over what topping to get on pizza night. Normal, boring, happy. But somewhere around year 8, something changed. And at first, I thought it was my fault. Vanessa started staying late at work. She's a real estate agent. Or she was anyway. She said she had evening showings, open houses, client dinners. And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. I trusted her the way you trust the ground beneath your feet. You don't question it until it starts shaking. Then came a phone. She started tilting the screen away when she texted. She'd take calls in the bathroom. She put a password on her laptop, something she'd never done in 10 years of marriage. Little things, tiny little things that you notice but convince yourself aren't real. She's just stressed, I told myself. Work is hard. Give her space. I had no idea. I was actually walking into a setup. The first real red flag came on a Sunday morning. Emily was watching cartoons in the living room, and I was making pancakes, the crappy frozen kind because I burn everything else. Vanessa's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it without thinking. Just a reflex. The notification said, "Can't wait to see you again." Last night was perfect. I stared at that screen for maybe 3 seconds before it disappeared. She'd read it and deleted it from the lock screen. Someone named M. My stomach dropped. But you know what I did? Nothing. I made the pancakes. I poured the syrup. I kissed Vanessa on the forehead when she came downstairs and pretended I hadn't seen a thing. Because that's what we do, right? When we're scared of the answer, we stop asking the question. Over the next few months, Vanessa became someone I didn't recognize. She started criticizing me in front of Emily. Little jabs at first. Daddy forgot to pick up your allergy medicine again. Daddy's working late again. Daddy doesn't really know how to take care of you, does he? Then the jabs became accusations. She told her mother I had a temper. She told our neighbors I drank too much, which was news to me since I have maybe 2 beers a week. She started documenting everything. Dates, times, things I supposedly said or did that never happened. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed one night, just staring at the wall. Vanessa was already asleep, or pretending to be. And I thought, is this real? Am I actually this terrible person she keeps describing? That's the thing about gaslighting. It doesn't just make you doubt the other person. It makes you doubt yourself. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, Emily started acting strange. She'd been such a bubbly, talkative kid her whole life. Suddenly, she was quiet. She'd stare at her mom during dinner with this look I couldn't read. Worry? Fear? I didn't know. 3 different times, Emily tried to tell me something. 3 different times, Vanessa interrupted her. Mommy, can I tell Daddy about? Not now, sweetie. Go finish your homework. Daddy, remember when you said, Emily, that's enough. Go play in your room. I wish I had paid closer attention. I wish I had pulled my daughter aside and asked her what was happening. But I was so busy trying to save a marriage that was already dead that I missed the one person who was actually trying to save me that happened on Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were trash days, and I just rolled the bin to the curb when I saw the police car pull into my driveway. 2 officers got out. One was a woman with a stern face. The other was a younger guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. David Carter? The woman asked. Yeah, that's me. Sir, we've received a report of domestic violence. Your wife has filed a protective order. We're going to need you to leave the premises immediately. I laughed. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because my brain couldn't process what I was hearing. Domestic what? No, that's not. You have the wrong person. I've never touched her. I've never. The young officer put his hand on his belt. Not threatening. Just ready. Sir, we have statements. We have photos. We have a witness. You need to cooperate right now. I looked past them through the front window of my own house. And there she was, Vanessa, standing in the living room with her arms crossed. And behind her, holding her hand, was Emily. Emily wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. She looked confused, like she didn't understand why all these people were in her house. That was the moment I should have realized something was wrong. If I was such a violent monster, why wasn't my daughter afraid of me? But I didn't have time to think. I was too busy being handcuffed in my own front yard while my neighbors watched from their porches. I spent that night in a holding cell. 37 years old. Never even had a speeding ticket. And I was staring at a concrete wall, trying to figure out how my life had turned into a movie I never agreed to star in. What followed was the darkest month of my life. The protective order meant I couldn't go within 500 feet of my own house. I couldn't see my daughter. I couldn't even call her. Every time I picked up the phone to dial her school, my lawyer's voice echoed in my head. Don't. They'll use it against you. I stayed at a Motel 6 off the highway. The kind of place where the bedsheets smell like bleach and regret. I ate gas station sandwiches and cried in my car more times than I want to admit. My lawyer, a tired man named Gerald who'd been doing family law since the 80s, laid it out for me plain and simple. David, he said, sliding a stack of papers across the table. She's got photos of bruises. She's got a witness statement from her sister claiming she saw you shove Vanessa into a wall. She's got text messages where you allegedly threatened her. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. In family court, the accusation is the punishment. What do you mean, allegedly? I said, I never sent those texts. Doesn't matter. They exist. Her lawyer submitted them. I grabbed the papers and flipped through them. There were screenshots of text messages from my number. Threatening messages. Ugly messages. Things I would never say to anyone, let alone the mother of my child. That's not me, I said. Those are fake. Gerald sighed and rubbed his temples. Prove it. That's when I realized how badly I was outmatched. Vanessa had been planning this for months, maybe longer. She had fabricated evidence. She had recruited witnesses. She had turned my own in-laws against me. And I had nothing. No proof. No alibi. No defense except my word. And in a courtroom, a man's word doesn't mean a damn thing when there's a woman with tears in her eyes and bruises on her arm. Every person I thought would defend me stayed silent. My own brother told me he needed to stay neutral. My best friend since high school stopped returning my calls. I was alone in a way I didn't know a person could be alone. The only thing that kept me going was Emily. The thought of her growing up thinking her father was a monster. The thought of Vanessa telling her lies for the rest of her life. I couldn't let that happen. I refused. So I fought. Even when every single sign said I was going to lose 0.2 weeks before the custody hearing, something happened. Something small. Something that shouldn't have mattered. But it ended up being the crack in the wall that brought the whole thing down. I got a call from Emily's school. The principal, a woman named Mrs. Alvarez who I'd met once at a parent-teacher conference. Mr. Carter, she said, her voice careful, like she was choosing every word. I'm calling because Emily has been acting out in class. She's withdrawn. She's not completing her work. And yesterday, she told her teacher something concerning. My heart stopped. What did she say? She said that her mom told her to say you hurt her, but that you never actually did. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Did she say that? Exactly those words. More or less. Her teacher reported it to me this morning. I'm required by law to inform both parents when a child makes a disclosure like this. But I wanted to call you first, because I've known Emily for 3 years, and I don't think she's lying. That phone call changed everything. Not because it was evidence, it wasn't not really, but because it confirmed what I'd suspected in my gut all along. This wasn't about protecting Emily. This was about destroying me. I called Gerald immediately. He listened quietly, then asked the question I'd been too scared to ask myself. David, has Emily given any indication that she might have proof? A recording? Photos? Anything? I thought about the way Emily had been looking at her mom lately. That look I couldn't read. It wasn't worry. It wasn't fear. It was knowledge. She knew something. I don't know, I said, but I'm going to find out. Of course, I couldn't just ask her. The protective order was still in place. I couldn't go near her. Couldn't call her. Couldn't even send a message through a third party without risking jail time. So I did the only thing I could think of. I wrote her a letter. Not to her house. I wasn't stupid. I mailed it to the school, addressed to her teacher, with a note asking Mrs. Alvarez to give it to Emily during recess. The letter was simple. 3 sentences. Emily, Daddy loves you. No matter what anyone says, I will never stop fighting for you. If there's anything you want to tell me, you can tell the judge. I'll be there. I didn't know if she'd get it. I didn't know if she'd understand. But it was the only move I had left.